Today I'm going to go over the clipping mask assignment that is out on Classroom. You are going to be creating an image or a poster, I should say, that you would love to proudly display in your room, on a wall somewhere, whatever. So it needs to be something that's fun and important to you. So you want to be thinking about, maybe what the theme of your room is, if you have your room decorated in a certain way, or, if you want to create something that is Buffalo and Garden City related to kind of just show off you and your time here at Garden City High School. And so the key thing that we're going to be focusing on today is the clipping mask tool, also playing off of from our scary type assignment, playing off of using rasterized type like an image that you're erasing some things. That's where you kind of see these crackles on here, okay? So the document itself, it's going to be set up. You're going to go File, New. You're going to give it the name, your last name, clipping mask poster, or something along those lines. The width and height is really up to you, but no more than a 16 by 20 poster. So if you want it smaller, think about a space that you might have in your room or wherever you're planning on hanging this. If you're like, I'm not planning on hanging it, I don't plan on wanting it printed, save me the paper and just make it an 8 by 10 and let me know when it's time to print that, hey, I don't want to print this, okay? But anyway, 16 by 20 is going to be our max. And the orientation of it is really up to you, whether you want it in portrait or in landscape. Just choose those and make sure it switches accordingly. Also make sure this isn't in pixels, that it's in inches, okay? Resolution, we're going to go 300 pixels per inch since it is going to be printed. RGB, and I'm going to stick with a transparent background just because I don't know what color I might want it, or you don't know what color you want your document yet. So I'm going to say create, and your document should look something like this, okay? So to start, I'm just going to go pick an image. I'm actually going to pick Buffalo Brown as my background, which the RGB of that is 52, 22, 2. I'll say okay. And now I'm going to Shift F5, which is the same thing as going Edit, Fill. See, Shift F5. Filling with my foreground color. I'll say okay. Okay. Now I'm going to get my text layer and I'm just going to type out in white text G, and I want to put it in a kind of a bigger font. So let me do this, pick this really quick, and let me go back and explain. What we are doing with a clipping mask is we are going to clip in a photo to be within a set of words, okay? Another example of this could be something like this, okay, where I took this football player image and I clipped it within the hashtag GCBuffPride and made it constrained within there, so I didn't have to go in and erase in between letters. I just was able to clip it in there. So this is the clipping mask, which you guys do have experience with from Unit E textbook, but maybe you just don't remember this. You're seeing it in a different way this time, okay? So I'm going to come in, I'm going to say G, and I'm actually going to put these all on their own layer and in their own text box. So I'm type C, enter, and I'm going to put buff. The capital F is weird to me. Maybe not the font I would like. And then pride. Okay, and enter. And now I can go into these individually to resize. And so when you're resizing this, remember, please do not Control T and stretch it. Okay, that's not what you want to do. You want to get still with your text layer, highlight, and I press and hold Control, gives me the slider, and I can slide this font size up bigger and accordingly so that I'm not doing anything crazy. So I'm going to remember that's 401 point font. Enter on my numlock keyboard and change this to 401 so that it matches. Get my move tool, move it. So I'm just doing this quickly to just kind of show you the example of what I'm looking for. I'm going to move this. I want this right here-ish. Doesn't necessarily have to be the 401 exact. Enter. So just a reminder to quickly select all that text. If you hit Control A while you have your cursor flashing, that's a Control Alt. That's going to select it and make select the whole thing. I'll make that big. Okay, so let's pretend this is my beautiful poster. What you are going to do then is go find an image, get your move tool, drag it into your last name clipping mask poster. This is a really tiny image. And Control T to transform. Resize. This may not be your perfect image, but I'm going to Control T to transform and resize this to fit over where I want it. I'll push Enter. Well, it's not too bad. Okay, and so if you see, I want it over the buff part of GC Buff Pride. So I want in my layers panel, I'm going to rename this football team. I want it to be above whatever layer I want to clip it into. So I want to clip it into the buff layer, so I need to make sure that the football team image is above the word buff. And all I'm going to do is right click and say create clipping mask. And it's going to clip into whatever is below it. Okay? I can get my move tool as long as I'm on the football team layer, and I can move it wherever I want it to be, okay, to make it look how I want it to look, okay. I can also go over here to buff and I can add some effects, so I can add some outer stroke, you know, some of those things that we've played with a little bit. So that's an inner stroke, but I want to add outer, okay. Play with some of that stuff. Maybe I don't want it that color, I want it white, or I don't know, whatever. I don't want it as transparent, I want it more transparent, whatever you want to do here, okay. The big thing is with your image is I want you to make it unique to you to begin with, and also I want you to clip in several images. I don't care if you go in and put a background image in there with some text. What I'm not looking for is to have a background image with plain old text in front of it. You need to make sure that you have pictures clipped within the text. Excuse me. Okay, so that is the first thing, or the main thing that I'm looking for with this image, is just to see your creativity, see something that is important to you. Some examples of other projects that I've had, Buffalo related. Maybe you go out to Twitter and find, like, search Buffs Athletics Twitter and just search for some image. Maybe you have some other images saved somewhere. I've seen kids make them promoting like their favorite artist, or some of those more inspirational posters, and they've using images that they found online. It's really up to you the direction you want to go on this. You don't have to include your name anywhere on this poster. You just need to make sure that in the file name it has your last name in there and attached. You will turn in both the PSD and the JPEG on Classroom, and when I'm back in the classroom, I will print these for you, and that's kind of my gift to you at the end of the semester for working hard, okay? Otherwise, I think that is really all that I need to cover on this. If you have a specific question, please, please, please reach out so that I can get that answered. Again, you want to make sure you find good quality images. Being careful, like this image, luckily was, you know, a 5x11 image, so blowing it up on a 16x20 poster wasn't that big of a deal. But if you open an image and it's only 2x2 or something super small, and you go to drag it in, it may not do it. Oh, the last thing that I want to say, or remind you of, is like on here on the rasterized text, we were able to use our eraser to create this kind of torn effect, or I was on this image. So what you will do, just a reminder, is you'll need to right click, and remember this is a destructive thing. Once you've rasterized, you cannot go back and rename, find a different font, anything like that. So like on this font, I wasn't loving this font. If I go in and I change it to something else, I can do that. But the second, and I would have to go in then maybe and resize this image so that it fits better within this font. The second I right click and say rasterize type, I can no longer edit this type. Okay, so this font was, I'm not crazy about it either, but I'm gonna go with it. So make sure you rasterize at the end. Then I'm gonna go get my eraser tool, and remember, erasers act just like brushes. Sorry, I had some video difficulties. So remember, erasers act just like brushes, so as soon as I hit my eraser, I'm gonna come up here to my brushes, and right now I just have that grass from one of our early projects. I'm just gonna use it as an example for now. And I've got, oh, I might be able to do something cool with it, I don't know. Got my eraser, and now I can come in here and I can erase parts of my image if that's what I'm kind of going for. It's kind of creating a weird effect. I would go in, I liked this cracks, let me go back to my move tool. I like this cracks brush and kind of show through some of my background. Play with your brushes, go out to Brush Easy, find something different if that's what you want to do to just create an effect. That's just something additional that you can do. It's not required by any means, but I do want you to clip in text or clip in images to text, and I also want you to play with some of those outside effects to really create a poster with some depth and that you would be proud to hang on your wall. Again, you're turning in the PSD and JPEG version of this. It needs to be no bigger than 16 by 20, but if you wanted to make it a different size that's smaller than 16 by 20 inches, by all means, you can do that.